Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum viewers. How are you all? Today I'm going to discuss about informal letter, and in informal letter I'm going to talk about a letter to editor. With this I'll be discussing the detailed mark scheme and the assessments object for Cambridge set by them for the candidates. Um, Informal letter writing is actually a part of directed writing, which is section 1. Now let's see what is a directed writing. But before we move, please subscribe my channel, like it and share it. Directed writing is actually a type of composition of order, that certain order is given. Please remember this thing. The examination provides you with a task material, which is actually the situation given before the actual question, and then 3 instructions are given which guide you about that what is the nature of your material you are going to write. Is it going to be a letter writing or a speech writing or a report writing or whatever it is? But whatever it is going to be, it's going to be only one question, that is there is not going to be any choice in this part of the paper. So please be very sure about the format you are writing in. The form you are writing must take and the audience for which it is intended. You will know clearly that to whom you are writing, and according to your audience you are supposed to provide the material. You are supposed to set your tone. I'm sure that you are now clear about directed writing. Directed writing is the first section of paper 1 for Cambridge, which is the writing paper, and there are 30 marks for this part of the paper. Now, I would like to talk about the assessment objects for writing, and they are called W1, W2, W3, W4 and W5. What are the objectives they are seen in candidates writing? The first objective is articulate experience and express what is thought, felt and imagined. That whatever you have planned for this part of the writing, you can express it very well. You can sequence the fact, ideas and opinion. Things are not jumbled up. They are appropriately placed one after the other in a very set and fine order. You are able to use a range of appropriate vocabulary. Your word range is quite good, and you have ample word bank. You are not repeating it. You use your register appropriate to audience and context. Your language is quite suitable to whom you are writing to, and you are making accurate use of your spelling. Your punctuations are correct and your grammars are correct. So these are the objectives assessments made by the Cambridge for this part of the paper, and they are really covering a lot of things in it, which we are going to discuss. I'm sure that these assessment objectives are clear. Let's move on. We'll talk about the detailed marking instruction for section 1, directed writing, for particularly a letter writing. What is a candidate expected to for a letter? That a candidate is able to write a letter which communicate information clearly, accurately and economically, because you have a word limit of 200 to 300 words. So ranging in this word limit, you have to come up with a very exact piece of writing. Then this point I've already discussed, that you have this much word limit. Then whatever instructions are given, we call them rubrics. They are given in 3 bullet points. They are detailed on the question paper, and you give related and required information. If you are not giving the related and required information, you will not be marked for this part. Candidates will be awarded up to 15 marks for following the task instruction and 15 marks for the language. The total marks for this part, section 1, directed writing, are 30 marks, and these 30 marks are divided into 15 marks for your language and 15 marks for your task fulfillment, that how well you adopted the situation and you came up with something excellent. I'm going to discuss some bands about some bands for the task fulfillment area and for your language area as well. Now, in order to fulfill these assessment objectives in section 1, a best fit principle is applied. Now, what is a best fit principle? The best and the appropriate response of a candidate will be seen. Now, let's have a look on this high expectation set by the Cambridge. We'll be discussing separate marks for task fulfillment side by side so that you can have a look, and language marks. Your 30 marks for this part of the paper will be divided into 15 marks for your task fulfillment and 15 marks for your language. Well, discussing all the bands will not be possible here. So what I have done, that I have taken the top band and the least band, and we'll be looking at the criteria here, and definitely we will see that how we have to now work on. First of all, we'll read the task fulfillment marks. That is the situation which is given to you. Now, here the highest band is band 5, where out of 15 candidates can get from 13 to 15 marks, quite high. This will be a script where a very good understanding of the purpose is shown. The candidate shows a clear awareness of the specified situation and audience, that you are conscious in writing. You know that what is the situation you are addressing to. You know very well that who are your audience. Text type entirely appropriate. If you are writing a speech, your format is correct. If it is a formal letter, then your format is entirely according to a formal letters pattern. If you are writing a report, then you are having all the criteria of writing a good report. Your all required points are developed in detail, fully amplified. It means that the rubrics which are given to you, you have given amplified details on that, and the best possible way, in the best possible way you have explained it, and your things are well organized. You have given information well used to justify personal opinion and interpretation. So your work on the whole shows that you have come up with a logical understanding of the question, and you have justified the situation. Your tone and register are entirely appropriate. Like if you are writing for a manager, your language, your choice of word, your tone is matching to that situation. Now, on the other hand, when we look for the language marks, which are 15 marks, so here the highest band is 8. So a person who is ranking in this band will get 14 to 15 marks. And let's see what is the language criteria here. So looking at these two things side by side, I'm sure that you will be quite acknowledged that how you are going to mold now your directed writing. So your language has to be highly accurate, apart from very occasional slips. They are acceptable, but they should not be major. Your sentence structures are varied for particular effects, like you know how to write in complex, compound, and simple sentences. Your verb forms are correct and appropriate tenses. I mean, when you are switching from one tense to another, you know how to do it. Your tenses are correct, your verb forms are correct. Your vocabulary is wide and precise. I've talked about it, that this is really very important, that modern and precise and short and accurate vocabulary is really appreciated in Cambridge. Your punctuations are accurate and helpful. Your spellings are accurate, apart from very occasional slips. Your paragraphings are heavy. They have unity and they are linked, and they show evidences that you have planned it. Okay, I must tell you one thing here, that sometimes what happens that students ignore paragraphing. So if you ignore paragraphing, roughly calculate that your each paragraph has 10 marks. So it's mean that straightforward your 10 marks are gone. So please, whatever rubrics are given, address them in separate paragraph, and your paragraphs should be linked. Use conjunction so that you can link them. Now, on the other hand, band 1, I've skipped band 4, band 3, band 2, and I've come to band 1. This is script for task fulfillment where in task fulfillment the candidate will get only 1 to 3 marks. It is where a misunderstanding of purpose is shown. Happens when we fail to understand the question, and we that when in hurry we start writing it ignoring the things. Confusion as to the specified situation and audience, that shows your script shows that you haven't understood the question. Little evidences of the specified text types, you perhaps are not writing in the correct format. None of the required points addressed. Some point you have skipped one rubric, you have come up to the next, you have merged it. Even this is a serious mistake. The given information are misunderstood, or you are adding irrelevant material. This is something really very important. Tone may be inappropriate, like you are not writing in correct tone, your language is not correct. And band 0 is the one where a script will be marked 0, god forbid, insufficient to meet the criteria for band 1. So I'm sure that this will give you a better picture to write on. Now let's come to language 15 marks. I again repeat that your 30 marks will be divided into 15 marks for your task fulfillment, thus separately marked, and 15 marks for your language. So this was the highest band which I have discussed, and now I'm going to discuss band 1. I've skipped the remaining bands because discussing them all will not be possible. So band 1 is the one where the candidate will be scoring only one number, so low. It is where a script almost entirely or impossible to recognize. Your sentences are impossible to be understood by the examiner. And whole section makes no sense at all. Where occasional patches of relative clarity are evident, so 1 mark should be given. Where somewhere some sense is made, so 1 mark will be given. So this is the least band. So I am sure that this has given you a clear picture of the mark scheme of Cambridge, that 30 marks for directed writing will be divided into 15 marks for task fulfillment and 15 marks for language. Now, let's have a look on one example question. You're advised to write between 200 and 300 words. Total marks for this part are 30. 15 marks are for following the task instruction, and 15 marks for the language. We've discussed that how these 15 marks are given for task instruction, and we have also seen that how our language will be rated for these 15 marks. So these are two different separate marking which will add up to form a 30 marks. Now let's have a look on task 1. Now I'll be underlining the things so that you can understand them well. You are walking along a busy road. You're on a busy road and you see a car driver very close to someone on a bicycle. Another person is on bicycle. The car driver is close. The car almost knocks the bicyclist off the bicycle. Hit him and the bicyclist is now off the bicycle. You are very concerned about the way that car driver behaves towards cyclist. Perhaps the person went. So now you have decided to write a letter to the editor of the local newspaper to complain about the problem. So basically it's a complaint letter, and this complaint letter is going to be published in a newspaper. You're writing it to the editor. Okay, so after reading this and underlining the things, you have known that this is going to be a formal letter. Now you're going to write a letter, so you must include following things: when and where the incident took place. So you're going to tell in detail that where, which road, what was the time, and what happened when this accident took place. What exactly happened? So a detail will be given that how this accident occurred, how the car driver was to blame. You will show very clearly that it was the car driver's fault. So what you think should happen to improve the situation, you are now giving your suggestion for cyclists on the roads. So your concern is cyclist security or cyclist safety on the road. So you will talk about it. So you're going to cover all 3 points above in detail. You should make your letter polite and informative, and remember to begin your letter with dear editor. Okay, and you are going to give an appropriate ending as well. So I'm sure that we have read the letter together and we have marked all the key words here. And I'll again go through it when I'm to write it so that the key things are in my mind. And when I'll be writing, I'll be looking at these keywords so that I don't skip any detail. And my writing shows that I have really understood these things. So, first thing is that it's going to be a formal letter. And for a formal letter to an editor, definitely you will not write, "Hi, how are you?" You will simply tell that who you are and why are you going to write it. Then in second paragraph, you are going to talk in detail about the way this accident occurred. And here you will tell that how the car driver was to blame. So you'll show it that how he was to blame. So if you are giving some other situation here, you are writing something else, this will show that you did not understand the question. You failed to understand the question. So that will be something negative on your part. So please be stick to what is given in the question. Don't move here and there. Don't make your own situations in your letter. So what you think should happen, here the suggestions will be given. So you can write it, this part in can, you can write this part in should, had better is another better idea. But remember that it is for cyclists on the road, not for car drivers, not for pedestrians. The suggestions are only going to be for cyclists because a person in your situation is a cyclist. So did you notice that how carefully and minutely I've discussed all these details? Why? Because when I'm writing all these things and if I am mismatching things in my writing, then that is going to be a bad cast on my examiner. So let's move on. Yeah, we are going to consider the following question when we are writing. Who am I writing to? Who are my audience? Is it for some public, principal, teacher, friend, company manager, town council or police, etc. So here we are writing it for public. So it's going to be polite and formal. Purpose. Why am I writing this? Is it to explain something, inform something, instruct something, convince and persuade? I plan to sell something. It's an account of something which I have witnessed, or to complain about something. So this is actually a complaint letter, but it's a public as well. So I need to control my tone here. Now, what is the format? How is this space to be written? Is it a report, letter, account? So this is definitely a letter, and it is an informal letter. It's a formal letter, sorry. Language. What is the tone I should use? Is it formal tone, informal tone, persuasive, suggestive, informative, argumentative? So here we are going to have a formal tone and suggestive as well and informative as well, because second paragraph is informing the public about the incident and the last paragraph is suggestive. So definitely according to the requirement, my language will be changed. I'm sure that now you are pretty clear about this. Let's discuss the rubrics for this part one by one. When and where the incident took place. So this part is going to be in past definitely. You can create any sensible situation. Please make sure that you are coming up with something logical that fits our senses, not something illogical. What exactly happened, including how the car driver was to blame. You can tell that the car driver was over speeding, or you can say that the car was coming from a wrong direction, okay, and the cyclist was right on his way. What you think should happen to improve the situation for cyclists on the road? your suggestions for public or for government. Remember that when you are writing these rubrics, we call them rubric, so they are supposed to be dealt in separate paragraph. Okay, three separate paragraphs are going to be there for these rubrics. But remember that you are going to create a link. Put some suitable conjunction in the beginning of the paragraph so that a link is created between the paragraphs. And please have a very appropriate and good use of language in it. Now, please avoid these mistakes in your writing. Don't ignore any key point. We've underlined it, so please don't ignore it. Please don't add irrelevant information, that something else which is not mentioned in it or something which goes against it. Don't be illogical. Have some sensible, wise situations in your writing. Don't make grammar errors. This is really very important. We've seen CIE's Cambridge criteria. We've seen that writing in correct language is the most and the foremost criteria to get good marks in paper. Don't repeat things, please. Please don't repeat whatever you have said earlier. Don't repeat your words. So try having substitute. If you think that some words like very is a word which we repeat often, so think of having substitution for this. If you think that there is another word which you repeat, worried is a word which we repeat often, so you can plan some synonyms for these, and you can like have a conscious mind that you are not going to repeat these things in your writing. Don't contradict anything. This is really very important. Somewhere you have said something, on the other hand you are writing something which is negating that thing. That again shows a lack of understanding and lack of planning. So please avoid this mistake. So be simple, be logical, be wise, and be on one track. Don't try to overtake the things. Don't try to contradict the things. Don't try to cancel the information which you have already given. Don't write in only one type of sentences. This is really very important, that please learn to write in a mixture of sentences. Somewhere small sentences, we know that they are for good effect, so they can be given, but we are supposed to write in compound and complex sentences as well. So I'm sure that you have understood how to write a good letter, informal letter for directed writing. What are the criteria? And please have all these things in your mind. Don't take it simple. Don't take it something very easy that can be done within days. No, please, language is something which takes a lot of time in improvement. So please don't ignore it. Do some work side by side. Okay, a lot, say 10-20 minutes for your language improvement. Read something of different kind, so that you are aware of different type of situations, and you are actually availing different phrases spoken, used in different tones. So I'm sure that you are now fully guided to write a directed writing informal letter to an editor. So I'll be definitely waiting for your good comments in my comment section, and I would really appreciate if you subscribe my channel and support me. Thank you very much. Stay blessed. Allah.